Trains, tracks, and travel tales. What's your favorite or most memorable train trip? Why don't you just grab your favorite drink and come on board? Let's discuss. All aboard! Welcome to our podcast.
I love it. I freaking love it. I love it.
Oh wow. Okay. That was good.
The whole train trip is great. I'm loving this today. Paul, I'm with you. I am on board.
Welcome to our podcast, Rhythm in Rome. I am one of the hosts, Paul, who's with my beautiful co-hosts, Benef and Trecia. What up? What up? What up?
Hello.
You guys are all on board.
Getting on the Polar Express here. Yes.
So
Train.
as you guys
We're on some express. We're on something.
we're destination train somewhere. So as you guys
That's
already know, as our audience can hear us giggling our asses off, kind of thing. Today we're embarking on a journey along the rail travels of train traveling. So, this is interesting because I don't think this is a topic that gets discussed that much. But before we jump in and get into the full-on discussion and stuff like that, I would like to just say, hey, thank whoever's been supporting us already by subscribing to our podcast. We just hope for those who are just new, maybe, to continue and maybe like, subscribe, and give us feedback and go on from there. So let's jump right into the topic, shall we?
And actually, even before we do that, I honestly want to say, an extra special thank you to all of the wonderful views we have, because
yes.
I mean, I'm like so encouraged at this moment because we have over 75,000 views. So actually scratch that, because I was looking at the wrong thing. It's actually 83,000 views.
Oh
so,
wow.
Yeah.
And we are less than half a year. So
I know. So I'm
Yeah.
we're definitely really
End of
excited.
March.
So thank you very, very much. We're so excited.
Thank you guys.
Hey.
Merci,
Okay, now we can talk about trains. Let's talk about trains.
Trains. Yes.
Get on board. Tickets, please.
Well,
Tickets, please.
And the reason that this topic even came up was because my husband and daughter took the train from Denver to Chicago and then another 2 hours south. But that's a long way to go by train. And it took quite some time because the train never really got above 65 miles an hour. It was kind of slow. I mean, so and I guess my question was why? I mean, if you've got the time, because you're not trying to get anywhere in a hurry on a US train. It's just not possible.
Well, it depends because, and we'll get into more details on that because obviously, you have those Amtrak trains, but in general, we should caveat by saying in America, they can't go fast because I don't know why. And that's interesting.
Well, I think it's the type of track, because in Japan, they have those, and I'm going to forget the name, and I should have gotten my magazine where it had the name of it, but it's like a magnetic track.
Is it because it's up on top, like the third rail or something? Or?
Well, no, it's
because I know there's that in Europe.
Is it the levitation cars that they have? But why it's the magnetic? Because it's up high, or could it be that?
Because I know in Europe they do have that. Like the third rail is literally
I
up on top.
I forget the name, and in fact, I will have to get the magazine at some point.
Diamagnetic material. I just looked it up. I was like,
but it allows them
material
to travel at faster rates, and it's a whole separate track. It's not on the regular local train tracks. Those Shinkansen.
It's not a wheel, and it's not a wheeled track. Correct.
Right,
so
right. And we don't have that network here, I believe, in the United States. At all.
We've been talking about it, starting with California.
In the United States.
But it's interesting. It's interesting. Big bad America, that's like everything, don't have the capability to have a high-speed train system. I mean, you would think a large country like ours, you would have that. And
honestly, Paul, I think that has to do with It has to do with community. I mean, I think it has to do with our whole social economic makeup, right? It has to do with where I think where we're talking about Europe and we're talking about Asia and we're talking about a lot of those things, it's built on community and it's built on a collective,
Mm.
where in America it's more capitalistic, more individualistic. We want our own cars, we want our own space, we want our own yards, we want our own this. Thinking of riding collectively, I mean, think about it. We ride on an airplane to go somewhere. We're locked in this space. Immediately, we're jumping up to get up out of the seat and get up and get out because we want to be able to have that elbow to to move around.
Right.
Does
Yeah.
it model the
So
same environment?
yeah, I mean, I agree with you to an extent on the fact that yes, with everything up to the point of
Hmm.
because I think America, like if I know that we had high-speed trains where I know I can go from New York to California and get there in less than a day, like in maybe 10 hours to
Yeah,
California,
yeah.
I think Americans will be all jumped on
Now
board.
And but
That's
listen,
because
you're saying 10
and
that you're
here's
hours.
why
East
I say
Coast,
It's a
that.
but you're
4-hour
East Coast.
flight. How the hell are you gonna a train gonna
No, no,
do it
no.
in 10
I don't know what it
Oh,
will be.
okay, the
Whatever it
actual
is,
okay.
reasonably,
Well,
I
I
would
don't know that
assume
it would
like
be
a
reasonable.
day
Our country
because
is a lot bigger.
I know, but Europe is if you add in all of Europe, it's about the size of America or maybe a little bit smaller, but still you can get from one end of Europe to the other end of Europe regardless
But
if you
would
take a
Yeah,
you
but
fast train or
would you
not.
do that or would you
Hell
fly?
yes. I
well,
I would
but you
go
go ahead,
ahead,
Paul. I'm
Tricia.
sorry. Well, what I'm saying is, though, also, Paul, think about it, but we're also East Coast. We grew up with that. And again,
Yes.
Europeans and Europe, Asia, they grew up with a, transport system, a public transportation system.
You're absolutely right. They do use a lot more trains here in Europe. I can't speak much with Asia, but I could say they do use a lot more trains here versus
Hmm.
driving kind of thing. But I guess what I'm saying is they're fast trains, and then you have
Yeah,
the option to go fast train or local
Well, and
train.
they
correct.
put the money into that. And I would say that
Yes, and why
yeah,
don't we
East
do the
Coast,
same? We
well,
should do the
because
same.
no one's taking, I mean, yeah, in the East Coast, things are more congested. There's that whole corridor, that 95
Yeah,
corridor. People are
yeah.
using the train.
But I'm saying if you build it, they will come.
I don't know
And with
though.
the
I'm not
but here's why I say
sure.
that. Because prices of airline tickets are so expensive. And I
I
truly
agree.
believe if Americans can know that there is a reliable train system that can take them to
It's
point A
not
to point
cheaper.
B,
It's
well,
not
it could
cheaper at
be
all.
cheaper. It could be cheaper. What I'm saying is it could be because I chose, and like if you have the time, for example, if you do have the time, if
Yeah.
you can get from New York to California in a day and a half, I probably would do that. I mean, because, and then they say I can do it for $250 or $300
Oh,
or
you're
even
like in science
$500.
fiction land now. Shit.
No,
Oh
no,
my
no, no, no,
God.
no.
Because
But
no,
think
the
about it.
Denver
Think,
to
Well,
Chicago overnight thing took ages, first of all, and it was not cheaper than
well,
a
it
round
took
trip
ages because it's
flight.
not a speed train. That's why it took ages.
I
If
know,
we
but
were
so
able
just
to
you've
do
got to
that,
think of the amount of money to initially
to build
invest,
it.
and that's the
Yes.
issue. Who's going to
Yes.
do that? Because I mean,
well,
I grew up
Yes.
in Wisconsin and Michigan, and we don't use the trains to go
Because
anywhere. Like,
it's not conducive to Americans to think about using trains. That's what I'm saying. When we leave America and we travel, most of the times when
yeah.
I'm on the damn train, I hear an American. And it's because they want to see the beauty of the country or wherever they're traveling to include myself. I'm starting to use a lot more trains, to be honest with you, this year than I have ever in my whole entire time living in Europe. And I've lived in Europe a very long time, back and forth a
so
lot.
what were you using before? You were driving or you
Planes,
were flying? You were
well,
flying,
both. I was flying mainly or just driving because
driving.
I was too afraid to use the train system because I was afraid of like, the language barrier and all this other stuff.
Right.
But when I figured out how simple and easy it is and how quick and how enjoyable and how relaxing it is, like I've taken the train, the longest train ride I've taken, for example, was from right now from Paris to Barcelona, Spain, which was 12 hours. And it was not boring at all. And it did not seem like 12 hours. And it was on a fast train. And it was just the most pleasant, enjoyable experience I've ever. It was not your normal LIRR train, Long Island Railroad train or whatever it may
Yeah,
be.
right.
It literally, big old windows, and you had, if you wanted a car that has separate entity where you had like your little desks and all this stuff, like they set it up to make it comfortable for the journey
Right.
that you're taking.
What was the
Oh, what was
cost
the
on that,
cost?
Paul? Yeah.
It was round trip, a little over $200 and something round trip.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
So,
that
I
cheap.
mean, it's not
Because
that cheap,
even the
but
Acela going from DC to New York is expensive
and I think the
comparatively
reason
for a
why,
flight.
It's because of structurally here. It's first of all, there's no competition.
bingo,
Second of all,
that's the reason why.
Second of all, there's no infrastructure,
Yes.
elsewhere. So there's no competition. There's nothing. So there's only one. So they can charge what they want.
Exactly.
There's no other
Exactly.
train. There is no time frame. There's it's going one way and it's going to come back the other way. So
Yes. That
until
is the absolute.
until there's
spot
more
on.
competition, until there's more infrastructure, until there's
Yes.
more more demand, it is not going to get cheaper.
And as long as somebody build, and I think it's gonna have to start small, obviously, which is what they've been talking about with the California, San Diego, kind of speed thing they're trying to do. I mean,
Sure.
you have people. I'll give an example where there are folks that live in Luxembourg City and travel to Paris to go to work every day, and it's a 2-hour train ride, on a speed train. But you know what I mean? And if I was to drive to Luxembourg, it's 5 hours.
Yeah. But
It'll be
then
5
then
hours.
again, a 2-hour train ride commute, versus a 2-hour or a 5-hour car ride, to commute.
And the price
it's
was
different.
$30. The price could be as low as $30 if
Yeah,
you get it
that's
in time.
Yeah.
I mean, and I
if you
would
get it
say
in time.
the Japanese train system, I mean, obviously is excellent. And it's because their roads are just not. Like the actual surface of the road is fine, but it doesn't connect you to where you want to go.
Sure.
But the trains do. And they are fast and they're relatively inexpensive, and people use the hell out of them. Like, you are jammed in those things during rush hour.
I bet.
So,
Well, that's the same. That's the same thing for us here in Texas, where I am in Houston. Is that that's that's kind of our biggest problem. I feel we have the roads and we have everything here, but our traffic is atrocious. Texas is kind of one of the last mecca for real estate. Me being a real estate agent, people are flocking here, and the traffic is just it has gotten just absolutely ridiculous. And now that we now have 3 loops, we have 610, we have Beltway 8, and now we have 99, and it's the only place where 2 hours, literally, we're 2 hours away from, like, Houston is 2 hours away from itself because it is so big, right?
oh wow.
So yeah, it's huge. So the fact that we don't have a public transit system other than buses, we do now they do have a rail system, but it's only within downtown
local in the
itself.
city. Yeah.
And it makes no sense. It just goes around downtown. So it's like, so what about, so just imagine 3 loops around the entire city of Houston, and now everyone is coming into the city, right? And they do, and I will tell you, the one time a year is February during rodeo season, everybody's coming into the city. So you can imagine the ridiculousness that it is to get in to go to work every day. There is one right now that they're talking about, a high-speed train going from Galveston, if you will, or even from Houston to Dallas, like a high-speed train that would take you day to day. 'Cause there are people that commute.
They're just on the.
I mean, the only one that we can say that's official. Well, it's not even a high-speed train, but you have the what is it called? The Amtrak from DC to New York.
The Acela.
That's
the Acela. Thank you. But it's not. There's no high-speed trains.
High speed. No. They're not going 250, 300 kilometers an hour. Or something
nowhere in America. So to pull back into that avenue because of travel, where we're thinking that, and I know we're focusing heavy on America because America don't have a goddamn high-speed train system, which is stupid. I mean, it's a good discussion because I think, why don't we have this? Because I feel, and Benef, you think it's because nobody would do it because it'd be too expensive, blah, blah, blah. And I'm saying it won't be, and Trecia is saying because of competition, it will bear out the fact that if planes are going to lose customers because they're taking trains now, because some are very environmental, conscious, and there'd be some that would be like, yeah, let's take a train and do a family trip instead of driving from New York to California. Let's do that, even if you have to even stop and change in Chicago to go the other route.
I guess if you
whatever.
really didn't like flying, then yeah, but or you wanted, let's just be like,
you wanted to see the city. I mean, the country.
The reason people are taking the train now is to see the country.
To work.
Not
to work. In America,
what do you
they're
mean?
taking a train to see the country. But
that's what I'm saying. I don't think America really is taking the train. That's my point. And you mentioned it before.
Well, no, I'm saying, but people that travel on the train now, like my husband and daughter, they were doing that, A, because she didn't really feel like flying, and B, they had the time and they wanted to see the country. So if we look at it from that aspect, just for the sake of discussion, what trains should we be taking if we want to see?
Well, you don't have that much choices in America, but you do have a shitload in Europe.
Actually, no, you do. There's quite a bit of choices here in the United States if you're looking for leisure. I happen to
travel.
Yeah, for scenic travel. Yeah. And I mean, as we know, America actually has some very beautiful places. Being that particular trip that your husband took with your daughter, the Zephyr, is actually a train that's actually a very beautiful scenic route to take. But I happened to pull up an article. It's a Good Housekeeping article of kind of the top 14. Where I won't list all 14, but I will mention some of the trips that they have. Most of them are Amtrak, as Amtrak is one of the Amtrak is one of the only train systems, I should say. Remember, we said no competition, right?
Right.
But Amtrak is so there's an Amtrak auto train which they have, and this one is from DC to Sanford, Florida. Now, the interesting thing is this one is if you want to take your car, you can pack your car. Yeah. So the second one is the number 2 on the list was America's National Parks, and that's the Rocky Mountain Tier. And that one I think is this one is the National Park, Yellowstone National Park. So it takes you through, and this is like a 10 nights with a hotel stay. So this one's actually really nice. ARP also has a list, and they offer options or discounts also for our 50 and better travelers if they're looking at train travel. But that one, Benef, is called the Grand Rail Experience, and that is number 3 on the list. So just know that. That's Washington. It takes you through Washington State, it looks like, or Washington, excuse me, Chicago, Seattle, Los Angeles.
Okay, Midwest. It does the mid. I feel that if it was something that is really promoted in the States, that it would be justifiably a lot cheaper. Because I'm looking at the comparison of, and you could do the same just from being in Asia, being here in Europe. If I wanted to travel all over Europe by train and not plane, I can get great deals if I do it in advance, like months in advance or something. As long as you're 2 weeks before traveling. Matter of fact, I'm taking the train, for example, to Germany, to Berlin next month. And I only paid 79 euros one way. And it's a 7-hour train ride to DC.
The other thing about these like long train trips is that there is the possibility of like actually interacting with other people, because you have to go to the dining car, and they're putting you, unless you have a group of a lot of people that all sit together, they're going to put you with other people. And in fact, my husband met like very interesting a man and woman. They weren't a couple, but the 2 people he met. That I mean, it was fascinating.
Hey, so we are here with 2 friends that we just met on the California Zephyr as we are going across country, and they have some really interesting stories. Really basic question, but we have Alan and Yu Ching. and I'm gonna ask them one question, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So, why the train?
I'll go first because yours is more interesting. So one day I was browsing YouTube, you know, as usual, and then many videos about the California Zephyr just shows up on my feed. Like, and they're all titled like, "Oh, I took this cross-continental train for 52 hours," and it sounds interesting. So I clicked into it. It seems to be a very scenic train. I have never seen most of the U.S. because obviously I'm not from here. So, like, why not? That's essentially my motivation.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I know that we love the train, so that experience, right? So
Yeah, for sure.
Alan?
Why the same question?
Yeah, same question.
Okay. Well, as I said, some people have the train gene, and I have the train gene, and I think it's probably because a relative from 1874 invented the Janey knuckle coupler, and my last name is Janey. And I've taken the Empire Builder a few times. I've taken the Southwest Chief. I've never taken the Zephyr, so on this trip I decided to take the Zephyr. And I also volunteer at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, and surprisingly enough, I volunteer at the Great Train Story. I also volunteer at the Lighthouse Museum. I have to get the plugs in.
Yeah,
the Lighthouse Museum in Michigan City, Indiana, which is right on the lake.
Well, that's awesome. Hey, thank you so much for like this impromptu. Hey, just met. Let's just talk about the train. So thank you both so much.
Well, so that guy, Alan Janney, I mean, his he said grandfather.
He's related to
the guy who invented the Janney coupler.
What coinkydink on that?
Automatically link up the trains, because before they were like, you know, back it up, and then they have to like, you know, lay the two and then put the pin in, and people were dying, like getting crushed.
No, it's just fascinaning. It was a fascinating experience.
And obviously the train gene was still very, very much embedded.
Right. Well, and then awesome. Yu Ching, she just wanted to see the country. That's
and that's why I say
because of a YouTube.
That's insane.
Exactly.
That's amazing, because that's why I say the train travel, because America loves new shit. Once it's new, we're going to jump on and be like, well, I want to be the first to experience. I want to be the first to, you know, kind of thing. And then it will die down a little bit after the newness is done. But I seriously think we should consider, and I hope to God that they do make this fast, high-speed train system that's supposed to be from San Diego to LA, I believe it is.
Or
is what
from Houston, or high-speed from Houston to Dallas, right?
There we go.
So,
I mean,
Benef,
it would make life so much easier.
Benef, there's something that you can actually take advantage of. I don't know if you know, but the Broadmoor actually, and I think I mentioned this before to you. I don't know if I mentioned to you recording, you know, on camera or not, if we did, but Broadmoor actually just brought back their trip up to, I guess, I don't remember what mountain they're on or what it is, but they reintroduced or reopened their train ride up to the mountain. And I mean, I can look it up again for you. And I'll actually put that as a link here at the bottom as well. But they have their new spanking brand new train that you can ride. So if you go visit the Broadmoor there in Colorado,
the hotel, because we did one where we did go up to Pikes Peak, and that's like the train at the highest elevation in the United States, and we did that one. But you're saying this is a different one.
Yeah,
I guess the moral for me would be, you know, try to train travel, regardless of, and I should, you know, when I'm in the States and stuff like that, maybe try to train travel. And I think because of our mentality, we want to get to our destination quick. And I am that type of person that I'm like, I need to get
like, we don't have time.
I
want got time to lose.
Right. But maybe try it as a vacation, you know, and
I will.
That is what we should do. And because I do it here and I didn't think I was going to like it. And I do. I honestly have to. And I think it's because it is literally a fast train where they're going like 200
ages.
Yeah, they're going like 250 kilometers or whatever.
Not dealing with the stupid airport security.
No,
is
and
Right.
it's just it's a great
Well,
ride, and you
the
get to
one
see the
that
whole.
Yeah, the one that I'm looking at, and the one that looks really, really interesting to me, and what I was really encouraged about too, when I was looking at the one just in the U.S., when I was looking, is that the trains actually they do have, like, just in Europe, they do have the open cars where they're
Yes,
the floor to ceiling windows or the
which
or
is what
the
I
the
did.
glass
The
roofs.
glacier. I did the
Yeah,
glacier Switzerland one, which is amazing, where you get to see
yes.
everything. Everything is glass.
Yeah.
It's
And then
beautiful.
Yeah.
and then don't forget our neighbors in Canada, they have
Oh
some pretty
yes,
fantastic ones. And
yes.
Right. For that
there
The
is
scenery.
Mountaineer, I think
yes,
it's called.
The
The
Rocky
there's
Mountaineer.
Mountaineer. Rocky
one
Yeah.
Mountaineer. Yeah.
there's one that leaves from Vancouver, or you can do the reverse, but it goes
Mhm.
Vancouver to through you do an overnight, you go to Jasper,
Toronto.
Banff, no, Vancouver, British, I guess,
I'm
what
saying
is
it
that,
goes
British
from
Columbia?
Vancouver to Toronto. No.
No, Calgary.
Oh,
They have
Calgary.
one that
Okay.
goes to Calgary, but you do Banff and then you do and you go to Calgary. But then of course they have that go to Montreal to
To
Toronto. There's
Toronto.
all
Okay.
different all
Hmm.
different ones. So there's so
And that's
many.
got to
So
be beautiful because British Columbia is
Halifax,
gorgeous.
oh yeah. So
Yeah.
just there's
Yeah.
train rides all over the world.
Yeah.
So please
And,
consider a train
yeah.
ride
And I bet
as
if
a
you do it way in advance, it won't be
Mhm.
as expensive as you may think it is.
Well, it's not going to be 79 euro, but yes.
Well, I think it's that bad in Europe because everywhere has trains in
Yeah.
Europe. So
Well,
it's a little bit more
Exactly.
competition.
yeah. Those
There's
luxury
a-
train experiences. I mean, it is still luxury travel.
For sure.
it-
For sure.
Has
I
luxury
no,
classes.
I only to
No, because I was looking at that one going from Denver to through Moab to Las
no, I'm
Vegas
saying
a
luxury
year out,
travel.
and it was still, it was
But
going
is
to
it
be
luxury travel in Europe? Maybe in America, yes, but not in Europe. I don't think it's luxury travel. I
It
would
may not
say
be.
it's very
it's just
affordable.
train travel, right?
There
Yeah,
are
it's literally
but
train travel.
there are some though here in the United States, because again, remember I told you I was looking at the list for the ARP, and they were starting at, and this is because you don't get a discount on the coach. If you go coach, it starts for just a single passenger at even at $130 per person, so it's not too bad
I mean,
if
that's
you're just
not
wanting to
bad
do that.
either.
That is
That's
not
not
yeah.
bad at all.
Mhm.
Like,
But I think if you're gonna do travel for holiday or train travel, I would recommend doing it for a long period, like holiday travel, because
Yeah.
if you you don't want to do it just for because you want to
well,
go on the
in the
Acela.
United States, right? I mean, and obviously, if you're traveling overseas, you're not likely to have your vehicle with you if you're on vacation, and you could rent a car, but it's easier to take the trains in Europe
Oh, it's
than it would be to
gotta
be
easier.
driving everywhere.
Yeah.
That would be
Right.
insane.
Like
I mean,
Europe.
I'd be
So
curious, whoever's listening or watching, what are your experience? Because I want to know, what is the experience if someone has ever even traveled by train via, South America? Because obviously we've talked Asia, America,
Well,
and
Guillaume
Europe.
did say that they didn't really
yeah,
have trains. It was buses. He was taking buses for like
correct.
12
It was
hours to get
mostly
somewhere
it was
else.
mostly Well,
Okay.
just from my simple research, as you know, I do, is Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia are excellent destinations in South America to explore
Oh,
by train.
wow.
So apparently they do have
Bolivia.
trains. Yep, they do have train systems there.
No
Apparently
Chile?
that are fairly good. I haven't seen anything with Chile. It's mostly Argentina to Brazil if you're
Interesting.
there by plane, bus, train, or car. So apparently you can
to
do
get
that as
from one
well.
to the
Just don't.
okay.
Mhm.
We want to thank you for hopping on board the Rhythm in Rome Express. We've reached our final destination in our conversation. We thank you guys for listening to us. I think we have, between all three of us sharing our experience. And I think another ultimate thing is America, get a goddamn speed train system. Trust me. That's
Oh my
the moral of
God.
the story. You will thank me later. But that being said, I want to thank our listeners and folks for watching if you have the opportunity to watch. And thank you again for your support. Don't forget, hit the button in our YouTube channel, subscribe, and help support our great podcast to bring more opportunities to talk about travel, culture, and everything else in between. Until next time, this was fun. Thank you, guys.
I like talking about trains. Thank you. Bye.